Good morning, everybody. I hope that you can hear me well. Welcome to today's webinar about the associated countries of Horizon Europe. I hope that you'll find today's sessions helpful and educating, and a start of a new thought about participating in grants from the European Union. Just check that everybody's hearing me well. Okay, so today's webinar, it's going to be about the different levels of association to Horizon Europe and what it means about the ability of non-European countries to receive, non-European Union member states to receive funding from the European Union. First, a little bit about ourselves. We are a consultancy that specializes in the European Union research and innovation funding. But apart from EU funding, we have specialty in European funding in general, so not necessarily funding that comes from the European Union, but also funds from Eureka or European Space Agency or the actual countries in Europe. We have 30 employees working in 3 teams, a business development, a strategy team, and a consultancy team, all together responsible of identifying, preparing, writing, and filing proposals for funding for technology projects. We work at the cross-industry work. It means that we don't focus on one single thematic area, but we have teams that specializes in the different thematics of the funding. A little bit about myself. I am the CEO of Argentum. I've been working on non-dilutive funding, grant proposals since 2011, and I also have a background in IoT. I've been an IoT or a product engineer and a product manager of novel IoT product that have won several local and European grants. I have a master's in economics and business administration and bachelor's in physics and economics, all from the Hebrew University in Jerusalem. And through my work at Argentum, I gathered a lot of expertise in different thematics of fields of technology. Today, as I said, we will be talking about accessibility and eligibility to Horizon Europe. We will start by introducing Horizon Europe for those of us who do not know the program very well. And then we will discuss the general eligibility criteria for applying to Horizon Europe, including all the side cases that we need to address, and then specific topic eligibility that allows even wider participations sometimes in the program. And then we will talk about the different countries that are exceptional in their association status. We will show some statistics, and spoiler alert, the statistics will show that associated countries are no inferior in their success rates to European member states. And then we will discuss a little bit the eligibility of countries to, well, companies or entities established in countries in other European funding programs. So let's dive into this. So Horizon Europe, as you might heard, I think today largest program for research and innovation by budget, 95.6 billion euros to be invested or to fund technology and research across Europe in the years between 2021 and 2027. It is the 9th framework program for research and innovation of the European Union. and it is organized in three different pillars. First pillar is the pillar of excellent science for innovative, groundbreaking research in the academy. Pillar two is where Horizon Europe is focusing on Europe and the global challenges, where the six thematics are at and organized as clusters. There are tens and even hundreds of calls under this pillar for different diverse topics, and we will discuss the eligibility for this in a minute. And pillar three, the Innovative Europe part of Horizon Europe, which hosts the European Innovation Council and the EIT, the European Institute of Innovation and Technology, where you can find most intriguing, larger grants, great opportunities for bottom-up projects. Now let's discuss a little bit the eligibility for these pillars. For pillar one, usually to be eligible, you need to be associated or part of academic institute, a higher education with research institute with research capabilities, or a research and innovation organization. In some of the grants, for example, the Marie Curie grant, you will need to have exchange of researchers among several universities. So this is pillar one. I'm guessing that most of our guests today will not be very relevant for this pillar. And so let's move on to pillar two. Pillar two is where the large consortiums are at. And the general eligibility says that in order to apply, you need to have a consortium for all of the 90+% of the grants under pillar two. You need to have a large consortium that has at least one member state and three member states and associated countries. So you need to have at least one member state and three participants from three different member states and associated countries. For example, Israel, Germany, and Spain is a valid consortium. Israel, Iceland, and Norway is not a valid consortium. This is a new rule under Horizon Europe. In Horizon 2020, you didn't need to have any member state. So now we have this rule to include one member state. But I must express that for most of the calls, for the larger budgets, three will almost always not be enough. You will need to invest in a larger consortium of at least 10 participants to win grants that are more than 2 million euros in general. And let's move on to pillar three. Pillar three is where you have the European Innovation Council, which has three different grants: the Accelerator, the Pathfinder, and the Transition. The EIC, well, for the EIC Accelerator, you must be from a member state or an associated country to apply, and you must apply only with one participant. No consortium is needed, and no consortium is allowed. For the EIC Pathfinder, which is the more research-oriented part of the EIC, you can either apply for a challenge or the open. For the EIC Pathfinder open, the same eligibility as pillar two applies. means at least 3 member states and or associated countries and 1 member state. And for the EAC Pathfinder Challenge, you can also apply with 1, 2, or more participants, but the 1 or 2 participants must be from a member states or associated country. So this is the general Horizon Europe eligibility, and I've discussed a lot, well, I talked a lot about the member states and associated countries, and now I'm going to answer the questions who they are. So I love maps, so we are going to look at some maps today. So first item, all European member states are part of Horizon Europe. Their governments pay taxes to the European Union, and therefore they must be, well, they are part of this program without any further agreement to be made, full access to everything. You also need to notice that it's for EU member state and their outermost regions and their overseas territories. So you can see some blue countries outside Europe here that are colored in blue because these are part of European countries. Now, the next item is the associated countries to Horizon Europe. The associated countries to Horizon Europe, well, Israel is not colored there, which is a mistake, but it will be colored in the next one. And then, so the next to be eligible are the associated countries associated to Horizon Europe. These countries decided to join the program, and then so these countries decided to join the program and to pay fees to be part of this program. Actually, Horizon Europe has made the goal to be open to the world and to democracies that want to be part of this program. You have the UK there, although it's an exceptional case. And New Zealand is there, which is the newcomer, just joined a few months ago. And so you have Turkey and Ukraine and Norway, Morocco, Tunisia, Iceland, all part of the program. Most of the Balkan, well, all of the Balkan area and most of the Baltic countries are part of this program. Now, I think there was a question in the chat about African countries in general. So, and it is important to know, it's less known, but low and middle income countries are eligible to participate. They are not associated countries and not member states, but they are eligible to receive funding from the European Union, which means that in consortiums, these countries can be added as a participant. It will not affect the eligibility criteria. For example, Egypt, Italy, and Germany consortium is still not eligible, but from the fourth participant onward, it will be eligible. Like third world countries will be eligible. For example, France, Germany, Italy, and Egypt is an eligible consortiums, and the Egyptian participant will be entitled and will receive funding from the EU if the project is approved. So we have low and middle income. You can see most of South America, all of Africa, large parts of Asia, and Belarus. Now, the interesting thing is that Horizon Europe is expanding. You see that Switzerland is not colored, and the UK is a little problematic. We'll touch that in a second, but Horizon is expanding. it's open to the world. And we know that there are discussions with Canada, which are the most advanced discussions, and the EU the European Commission has expressed their intentions to add Canada even this year to the program. And exploratory talks are with Australia, Japan, South Korea, and Singapore. So they might be added to the program in the coming years. New Zealand has just concluded their association talks and are now part of the program with an explanation that will come later. Now, we have covered the eligibility of the countries in Horizon Europe, but we must take care that each topic and each call has specific topic eligibility that sometimes expand the range of countries that can participate and sometimes limit the range of countries that can participate. So each call topic has an eligibility clause that most of them will say that the general eligibility criteria is set in Annex B of the work program that I just described. It applies, but there will be exceptions. For example, in the health sector, most of the call in Pillar 2, Cluster 1, this is the health work program, will be open for US participants. And as you can see, in recognition of the opening of the US National Institute of Health, the NIH, to European researchers, any legal entity established in the United States is eligible to receive Horizon Europe funding in a program. So this is again, the United States is not an associated country, is not a member state, but in some of the calls they can participate. They can be the fourth and onward participant. Some grants call for international cooperation. There are international collaborations with China, with Japan, with India, with the US, that will require some participants from these countries. Usually the support, the funding for the participants in these countries will come from their own governments, but there are exceptions that they will be funded by the EU. And there are some other requirements to have a user organization in the consortium, a city, and other requests and limitations that can be found in the general work program. Let's pause because I see an interesting question here from anonymous attendee. So if I understand well, companies located in low-income countries must have some activity in an EU country to be eligible. No, they are eligible to be a participant, and they don't need to have their activity in the EU. They can do their work in their own country, but collaborate with at least 3 European member states or associated countries. So they don't need to have activity in the EU. Let's move on to the next item. Let's talk about the exceptional association cases. As you saw, the white dot in the maps in the middle of Europe, in the middle of the map, you have Switzerland, which is at the heart of the European continent, but not part of the European Union by its own choice. But by its own choice. It has been a strong and successful applicant in previous framework programs. In Horizon 2020, they joined very late. They joined the program very late and has become yet again very central applicant. Switzerland is considered now a non-EU EU, a third party, not even in a transition or association or negotiation to be associated to Horizon Europe. This is due to wider political dispute about the general framework or trade deal that I'm not familiar with its intricacies. So Switzerland is currently out, and although very initial talks have begun, um, uh, it is not going to be resolved anytime soon. Um, unless something really interesting happens. But the Swiss government have agreed to cover costs of participation in consortiums. This means that Swiss applicants, actually, I should have said this before, but every applicant from anywhere in the world can participate, but not all of them can receive EU funding. So all the countries that I mentioned before are eligible to receive EU funding, but Switzerland is not. But it was agreed that Swiss government will fund the participation of Swiss applicants, which makes actually Swiss applicants more exciting or attractive to coordinators to have them, because you can add a Swiss participant that is not requesting EU funding, and you will have more budget left to distribute between the participants in the consortium. The Swiss applicants will not bite from the EU budget. They will bite from the Swiss budget. And very interesting response from the Swiss government, InnoSwiss, which is the local Switzerland national funding institute, came up with competitive alternatives to the EAC accelerator. And for years, the national funding for companies, for SMEs, for startups was not very successful, was not very big in Switzerland until actually last year, when they came up with the Swiss accelerator, which is a wonderful alternative to the EAC accelerator, offers almost the same type of funding without the equity component, and they also started a startup innovation fund, also good amount of funding, and a grant that is opened year long, which is actually excellent alternative. Let's move on to the next exceptional association case, the UK. UK has been a very strong participant in previous framework programs, very strong universities, vibrant and emerging startup ecosystem. The UK is geographically in Europe, but since Brexit is not part of the EU at all. And actually, we expected the UK to be the first ones to join Horizon Europe as an associated country. This was part of the Brexit financial agreement. It was agreed between Brussels and London that the UK will be an associated country in Horizon Europe, with one small limitation. The EAC accelerator will enable grant-only applications for UK participants, a small deviation from the other associated countries that are eligible for both grant and equity. But things have not went very smoothly, and the EU blocked the association deal until the Northern Ireland Protocol political dispute is resolved. The last part of the Brexit was to set rules for the participation of Northern Ireland in the free in the European single market, and in trying to keep the border between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland open, which is the only land border of between the UK and the EU. It has been resolved a few weeks back, and it is now resolved, and the association talks have begun again, but it will take some time until it's finalized. So since 2021, the beginning of 2021, UK have been eligible to apply and win grants, but not eligible to receive the funding until this dispute is over. So there were actually a lot of successful applicants that the EU, that the UK government has backed, similarly to what they did in Switzerland, and there is an ongoing um, support scheme for successful Horizon Europe applicants in the UK. Also, similarly to Switzerland, the UK have invested a lot of the money that was supposed to be part of the association deal back into UK funding mechanisms, Innovate UK, which is the most relevant for most of the attendees here, have received higher budgets and to kind of cover the inability to receive funding directly from Horizon Europe. And last exceptional case, New Zealand, first country in this part of the world to be associated to Horizon Europe, but right now it is associated only to Pillar 2 of the program, only the consortiums, the global challenges. It means that they can coordinate or participate only in Horizon Europe consortium projects. Companies established in New Zealand are not eligible for EIC and ERC and Marie Curie and the others. So this is the general eligibility of New Zealand. It is an exceptional case, and we will see how it happens with the time differences. Okay, and as I promised, some statistics are associated countries better or worse in terms of success rates compared to the general eligibility of Horizon Europe. I will answer Peter's question in a minute. So Horizon 2020 success rates were almost 12%. You can see that Faroe Islands, Georgia, Iceland, Israel, Moldova, Montenegro, Norway, Switzerland, and Tunisia had better success rates. So this is kind of to show that it does not really matter if you are an associated country or a member state. And I think a more interesting slide will be the number of awarded projects by country from the EAC Accelerator, which is the most competitive grant. So you see the big four in the beginning, the big five actually with the UK. I will answer all these questions in the end of the presentation. The big five are leading. This is Horizon 2020 numbers. So United Kingdom is still on strong. You can see Israel in the 7th place. It is an associated country and but very active in Horizon Europe. So this is in the 7th place, almost 300 successful projects. And then you see Switzerland that just joined Horizon 2020 late with more than 200 winning projects. And then you have Norway, which is nice contributor with a little over 150 projects, showing that associated countries have a fighting chance, and actually an equal fighting chance. Okay, so I'm going to end in a minute. I just wanted to speak a little bit about other programs that are not Horizon Europe. For example, ESA, European Space Agency, has a lot of funding opportunities for anyone that is actually using any space asset. You see all the European, almost all the European member states are here, and some others. Switzerland is a part, is a funding member. UK is a part, and no one is contesting this. So if you are using space technology or sending stuff to space, this is an opportunity. PrimaMed, just an interesting funding program. It's to support agriculture, water, and energy around the Mediterranean. Nice eligibility, nice and interesting eligibility criteria. Most of the countries around the Mediterranean Sea, plus Jordan, plus Portugal, and Germany and Luxembourg. This is just to show you how eligibility can change from program to program. And last, not least, and also very important, the Eureka partnership, the Eureka framework that enables companies to collaborate in innovative R&D projects. So there you have all of Europe and most of the associated countries, and you have South Korea there, and South Africa, and Argentina, and Canada already in the program. So you can apply without waiting any further. And by this, I will move to answer the questions. You can ask them in the Q&A or in the chat. We have 2 questions so far. Peter is asking, is Uruguay eligible to Horizon Europe as a lead in consortium to finance a local agricultural project? Yes, they need to have additional 3 member states. 3 member states or associated countries, and at least 1 member state. But they are eligible as a low-income country. They are eligible to the funding. So yes, I would advise, even if the Uruguay company is the actual initiator of the project, they might choose a European company or a European organization to be the actual coordinator. It might raise the chances of success a little bit. Karel asks about if specific topic eligibility is only for Pillar 2, or does this apply for EIC Accelerator as well? Yes, there is. The EIC Accelerator has a specific eligibility. In general, it must be a single applicant from a member state or associated countries. It does not fall under the general eligibility criteria at all. And yes, one should read the work program of the EIC to understand if it's eligible or not, or ask us. Adrian asked, what is the average amount of the grants? So grants, some of the grants are for a single entity, some of the grants are for a consortium, and the amounts vary very much between all of these. You have the EIC accelerators, which is 2.5 million euros, and additional investment of 15 million euros. And then you have the EIC Pathfinder, which is 4 million euros for a small consortium. And then you have Horizon Europe, the Pillar 2 grants that can be anywhere between 1 million euros and 20 or 30 million euros per project. Next question, can UK company lead the consortium? Yes, they can lead the consortium as a coordinator. And if by the time the project is approved, UK has resolved its differences with the EU, they will receive the funding directly from the EU. And if not, they will receive the funding from the UK government. Okay, I was asked to repeat how low middle income countries can participate. Middle and low middle income countries can be additional participant in a consortium. So they can be added to a consortium that already has met its eligibility criteria. 3 member states and associated countries and all associated countries, and then everybody else is welcomed. Mike is asking what is the exact process to apply to Horizon. Okay, so this is actually a very big question. First, you need to scan all the different funding opportunities and identify one or several that might be the most relevant for you, and the ones that you have met the eligibility for and fit the general objectives of the company. And then you should either start to write a proposal or start to form a consortium and then write a proposal, depending on the track that you have chosen. We strongly advise to use consultants for that. Some of the grants are easy to win, and you can do them alone, but most of them, well, it is more difficult to find them, but most of them are very competitive, and you need to know a lot to be a part of. I know that some parts of Belgium, which Mike is from, are supporting companies to hire a consultant for that, but we can discuss this offline. Another question, let's see if we have the time. Can participant from associated or low middle income country be a coordinator? Yes, but it's not recommended. You should find someone from your partners that is from a member state. It might raises the chances of success. Well, I have time for one more question. Yes, you can get a copy of the presentation. And can a US company apply alone or needs to be a part of a consortium? A US company cannot apply alone, it needs to be part of a consortium. And I think that with this, we ended our webinar for today. Thank you all for joining, and we are available. We will send you all an email to set meetings to discuss further if any of you wishes. Thank you all. Have a great day, and I hope that I helped any of you in the journey towards securing funding from the European Union. Thank you.